been known for many strange things.
Welcome back to the Townhouse. This is episode 5. I'm joined once again by Gavin, Anthony.
How's it going,
I'm Xavier. Thank
Oh.
you, Anthony.
Nice to know you, Xavier.
Yes, thanks for stopping by.
How have things been going for you guys? Did you guys expect us to get to episode 5?
I did not. I thought we were going to get canceled after the pilot.
Well, Gavin would have said something so outrageous that YouTube would have just shut us down.
Immediately.
That's what happened to my last YouTube account, so it wasn't really a racist thing. It was a 14-year-old trying to monetize his account type of thing, but
Yep.
we'll ignore the fine print there.
For now.
But yeah.
So, of course, what you guys all know is we are getting towards Halloween. You know what that means. It's Christmas time.
What?
No! God, please, no!
Oh, Christmas music. Yeah, true, November 1st.
True,
You can throw on.
No! God!
Yeah, we are in America, so November 1st is officially the start of the Christmas season.
Christmas season,
Yeah, for about
exactly. Thanksgiving, you're about halfway in. Do you guys have Halloween costumes picked out?
I do. I have mine picked out. I've kind of kept it on the down low. I can reveal it on a later episode, but you guys,
This is our Halloween episode. You've got to announce it now.
I personally don't have one. I have gone through a few costume ideas, but none of them have stuck because last year was the only year I didn't do a couple costume with Robin, and yeah, she wasn't happy about that. So
yeah, I have mine planned out. I'm gonna be Ash Ketchum from Pokemon.
Oh,
wow.
And you dressed up as him during your wedding too.
Unoriginal.
I did.
Wow.
So I guess we're gonna skip the whole Halloween thing since Anthony's all secretive about his Halloween costume.
It's not that great, but it'll be funny. I think it's gonna be funny.
You can't announce it for the podcast.
No, because then you guys will know.
You can announce it. When we record this, it's on Wednesday nights. Halloween's on a Wednesday, so maybe we'll record on Halloween night.
Ooh, I could be in character the whole time. Yeah.
Do it.
Hey, how about those news stories?
Sure. Okay. The first news story we are looking at is a gender reveal party accident leaves border agent bearing guilt for wildfire.
Wow.
In this article coming from NPR, Dennis Dickey lined up his rifle and was ready for a surprise. That's the point of a gender reveal party, after all. And Dickey's inanimate target was ready to yield its unpredictable answer just as soon as he fired. But it wasn't a child's gender that was to offer the biggest bombshell of his family bash last year.
Wow. You think Dennis Dickey is Lil Dicky?
Probably
No,
not.
I don't think so. I think it's just an unfortunate
I think it's
last
Chris
name.
Brown.
Oh,
Never
yeah.
mind. This isn't Freaky Friday.
I woke up in Chris Brown's body.
So what's the point of the story here?
To break it down, essentially this guy goes and he picks up some explosives from his local gun shop, and it says that he is some sort of border agent. So I imagine he lives down in like Arizona or Texas or something like that. He essentially goes to pick this stuff up. It's a gender reveal party, so he's expecting blue or pink smoke to come out, depending on what they gave him. I'm assuming he had some like sealed envelope that he gave the people, and they picked out the right color for him and everything. But when he fired it off, he ends up creating this enormous explosion that started a forest fire.
Oh, man.
And it took out 45,000 acres of land before the fire department was able to get it under control 2 weeks later. So,
wow. So what's the lesson of this news story?
Gender reveals are stupid.
Exactly.
That's
I
what
would
I
agree
got
with
out of
that.
it.
Yes.
Tangentially, we can actually talk about it, but it's the hot new trend, yet it just seems like people are
It backfires on them sometimes.
No, you know what it is. It's
I didn't even plan it for that. See, that's the best kind, is when they naturally flow out and I'm not pushing it.
The thing is, people want everything to be a big event, a big announcement, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't care, what baby you or anyone is having. I
Wow.
Wow.
You know, you let us know, and I'll say congratulations, and we'll leave it at that. Like, we don't need to have a big reveal party like it's some kind of event, you know?
Well, it technically is an event that you're having.
But you know what a big announcement is?
What?
The NFL draft.
With the 22nd pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Johnny Manziel.
I'm serious, though. Like, aren't you more curious to know who the New England Patriots are going to select with their number 1 pick than, like, you know, what the gender of someone's kid is? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's
what's
only
more
50-50.
relevant to you?
No, I agree. I think the problem is we live in the age of social media where everybody is...
They're updating their lives 24/7, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I think are more of an attention grab, and it sort of feeds into that, you know, that moment of surprise. We'll get a few extra likes because it's so innocent to, you know, people aren't going to necessarily like your random meme that you shared, but they feel obligated to like your gender reveal video or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's a good
And
point.
maybe it'll go viral or something.
Maybe Ellen will see it. You'll
Yeah,
get on
exactly.
Ellen. She'll give
Okay,
you free white vans for the rest of your life.
I love Ellen.
So there are so many like white people
Yeah, we love
motivational
that
things that are, you know, part of a gender reveal. And I'm not saying that other people don't do it, but I mean, come on, like 90% of the gender reveals you see are white people doing stupid white people shit.
Yeah,
Very
it's
true.
embarrassing.
But anyway, not to get too controversial. It's our own personal opinions. I don't hold it against anybody, but personally, I
If
feel
anybody
it's-
listening is planning on having a gender reveal party, please share the video file with us because we
Yes,
are interested
thank
in
you.
watching them.
and also don't, you know, use $85 worth of explosives.
Exactly.
to
Don't
it, 'cause-
potentially cause harm to the environment and or the civilians around you.
Yeah.
All right, but Gavin, what else is going on in the world today?
Well, here's another fun one. Sex-crazed fish becoming super horny because of huge levels of antidepressants in the water supply.
Wow.
I guess what happened is there's a certain antidepressant that entered the water supply, or has been over the recent years. I think it's Prozac. But essentially, scientists have been doing studies recently that have concluded that these antidepressants, when they can't really be filtered out, and so fish are just constantly absorbing them, and it makes them hella horny.
Wow. And you know, it's funny.
Isn't that like along the same lines? Is that conspiracy theorist who was talking about them turning the frogs gay?
Alex Jones.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Don't mention his name.
InfoWars, yeah, you gotta watch out. But this is actually real science. There was a study done at Monash University, and it turns out that when they isolated the variables, put certain male fish in a tank, the ones with the antidepressant in the tank were more likely to,
Mate,
you know,
get it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
Make
get
some
it
whoopee.
on. Oh.
Makes
Whoopi
sense
Goldberg?
to me. I mean, you know, you're perked up, you're in a good mood. Why not?
Yeah, but some of the other things they discovered, and this is over the past 10 years or so, but other things that get into the water supply, like cocaine.
Cocaine! Yeah, baby!
They did a study, I think back in 2014, with similar effects, animals showing more aggressiveness and things like that when cocaine was found in the water supply.
Yeah.
And they were actually, the reason for the studies wasn't they were trying to just test cocaine on animals. It was they found traces of cocaine in the water supply, and then they wanted to see what sort of
What it did to the
environmental
wildlife?
impacts it
Gotcha.
had. But I mean, what do you guys think of this? Because, obviously we're not scientists, despite maybe in a previous episode Xavier saying that he's somewhat of a scientist himself.
Scientist.
Shout out to that Spider-Man.
Yeah, Norman Osborn.
Yeah, Spider-Man meme.
AKA Green Goblin.
Right, but I don't know, just from a complete opinion standpoint, like, what do you think, what kind of effects might this have? If it's something they can't filter out, antidepressants or cocaine or, other substances, is there any cause for concern? And if you guys don't have anything.
Well, does it say what kind of fish?
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
I think it's super
Because
relevant.
what if you eat the fish? It's like, then you're eating a healthy meal, and you're getting your antidepressants.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, life is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
And it might up your sex drive, you know?
Well, true. And then if you eat a fish and there's cocaine in it, you're like amped up, ready for the day. You can like have the fish for breakfast.
I was gonna say,
your
you're
coffee.
ready for the day?
Yeah.
And fish for breakfast? I don't know, Anthony. You live a wild life.
I don't eat fish. I don't like
Wildlife.
fish.
See.
Oh, I see. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not, I don't want to start any conspiracies, and I'm not super concerned about it, but at the same time, it does raise an eyebrow when you think some of this stuff can be getting into our water supply.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not necessarily bad, but over long periods of time, depending on where you live, it would be interesting to see the results on, if you did studies on those people, testing for those specific drugs and
you
things
gotta
like that.
also think, though, like, all the different stuff that people flush down the toilet that goes into these water treatment plants, some of it's gotta be pretty difficult to get out of the water supply. I mean, especially when you're talking, serious chemicals that are, from different, like, especially prescription drugs. I mean, I would imagine that's gonna be tough to filter out. I'm not sure if it's getting into a little bit of conspiracy theory to, think about like what would actually be involved with our water filtration. I don't have any reason to not trust that the water that's coming out of my tap is clean.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying, like, it would be interesting to see, if a specific area was affected a little bit more and what those long-term effects might be.
Yeah.
I don't want to draw any conclusions without solid evidence, but at the same time, all of those antidepressants and things like that, they give you a serotonin boost. What sort of effects does that have on a person long term? Or are those areas lower suicide rates, things like that? It would be interesting to see. I'd love to see a study done, basically.
Sure. Well, what else is going on in the news today, Gavin?
A student says she gave cookies containing grandfather's ashes to her classmates.
Huh.
So based on this article coming from Mashable, a student in Davis, California, has claimed that around 2 weeks ago, she and a co-conspirator gave 9 classmates cookies containing her grandfather's ashes. Now, from what we can tell in the article, it sounds like there's no biohazards, obviously. It's a common misconception that dead bodies are unclean, but at the same time,
I wouldn't want to eat someone's grandfather.
Well,
just personally.
Definitely not, but
Agreed. I agree.
I think at the end of the article it says, well, if you have to be a cannibal, I'd much rather be eating somebody's ashes than someone's raw flesh. But I don't want to get too weird about it. What do you think this girl's motivation is? Because...
Well, I'm curious if you think she purposely did it, or you think it was by mistake. And because I mean, I'm not familiar. I don't work at a morgue or anything. But
I would imagine it would be an urn on like the mantelpiece. I wouldn't think it would be at a morgue.
So
no, I wasn't saying she made him at a morgue, but sometimes they may put him in a bag before they.
Well, that's what I'm at.
Like
so
a Ziploc.
Here's my question.
Here's Grandpa.
Oh, nice.
Here's my question, and with some background information, what do you think the motivation is? Because as of the time this article was written, they did not glean a motive from this girl. The article actually says co-conspirator, so it sounds like it was something that was done intentionally, and she actually did pull out the urn when her classmates didn't believe her.
It's getting close to Halloween. It was probably part of a black magic voodoo ritual. She probably was watching a little too much Harry Potter and thought that she could...
Wow, I have seen all the Harry Potter movies, but at no point do they ever put someone's ashes in cookies.
Excuse me, the polyjuice potion?
Do they put it in cookies?
No.
No, but they do put DNA into...
Oh, that's
Factual.
true. In Chamber of Secrets, they do.
So, you've been out Harry Pottered on this one.
Ooh,
this round goes to me.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding, yeah. but no,
Congratulations.
I mean that could be it. it's how old was this girl? I think it said like 9 years old.
So it's like grade school?
Oh, 9. Okay, for some reason I was expecting this to be a high school
I was
student.
thinking high school,
Yeah,
too. If
pulling
she's
a
9
prank.
years old, okay, she doesn't even know what she's doing.
No, she doesn't know what she's doing.
I don't know though. Again, how does stuff like this happen?
If someone had given you a cookie and said, "Hey, that's my dead relative's ashes," would you throw up? Would you spit it out? Would you punch
I
them?
wouldn't eat it.
Yeah, I think given her
Well,
age,
after
we
you
can
ate. Well, yeah, you wouldn't obviously.
excuse
I
it
wouldn't
a little
punch
bit
a
more
9-year-old
as
child.
I wasn't asking. I wasn't saying specifically this. What I'm saying.
But
in
I'm
general.
also someone who, like, especially like with potlucks and stuff, I'm a little hesitant to eat other people's food if I don't know where it's coming from. Let's go ahead and move on from the news articles now. Maybe go on to the beer of the week. How does that
Talk
sound
about
to you
some
guys?
beer. Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So what I brought for you guys today is something from Long Trail Brewing, which is actually a brewery located in Vermont.
Nice.
What we have is Double Bag, a double alt beer.
Best enjoy till the cows come home.
I'll be honest, I'm not enough of a beer guy to know exactly what type of beer it was. I mean, it definitely wasn't like, like any of the common ones like IPA, porter, or anything.
Yeah.
But I personally enjoyed it. I've gotten this one before. Anthony, what do you think?
I do like this one a lot, actually. I like the taste. It's not, like you said, it's not too bitter. It's also not that sweet. It's like a perfect, I don't know, the mesh when you get it in your mouth. You get it in your mouth,
Giggity, giggity,
You,
giggity.
No, you take a nice sip, especially when it's cold. I mean, I just finished it off right now, and it's a little warmer than when I first started drinking it. But the first initial sip that I had, I was like, ooh, this one is good. So it's a good choice. I do like it. So if I were to rate this one, I'd probably give it a 7.5.
Nice.
I did enjoy this one a lot.
Yeah, it's a little higher alcohol content, which I like, and it's about 40 IBUs.
What's an IBU?
International Bitterness Unit.
Oh.
Fun fact. So your IPA
What is that scaled out of?
Well, I think the most bitter IPAs and things of that nature run to about the 130-ish
Oh,
range.
okay.
But anything above 90 is you start to weed out, the weaker of the beer drinkers. Like for comparison's sake, I think a Bud Light is probably 5 IBUs.
A -3.
But 40 is getting into the range if it's something you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I think IBUs are typically directly correlated with, how much you roast the hops.
Okay.
Right.
Something along those lines. Again, not a beer expert. Just done a couple brewery tours that I'm sort of making stuff up on the fly. But yeah, pretty good
somewhat of a
beer.
scientist.
This is one of the best ones I think, in my personal opinion, we've had on the show.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would give it a 7.2, just like its alcohol content.
Oh.
I like it. I've had it before, which is the case with most of the beers I bring over here. I like the name, I think, more than anything else. It's
Double
called
Bag? Or
Double
Long
Bag.
Trail?
Double Bag.
No, Long Trail's the brewing company.
That's the brewing
It
company.
literally says.
I don't know. I would say in terms of the beer itself, I like it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I like it. So I'm going to give it a 7. Solid 7
All
even.
right. So we're all like fairly similar taste for it.
Yeah, but like you said about Double Bag, it's good life advice.
It is. Exactly. And it's very rare that you find a beer that gives you good life advice simultaneously.
That is a valid point.
Hashtag facts.
Facts.
FAX,
Absolutely.
as they would say on Twitter.
So, Anthony, what's our main discussion for this podcast here, episode 5?
For episode 5, our main discussion will be board games. Are
bet
you
you're loving
familiar
that.
with board games by any chance?
I've heard of them, like Candyland and the such.
Candyland's a jam.
Monopoly, right?
Monopoly is fun.
Checkers, I think is a
Yeah,
board
checkers, I guess, is considered a board game. Chess. Backgammon.
game. Nine Men's Morris.
No,
Is that a thing? Wait a second. No, that was
I think that our discussion's going to go a little bit into the more obscure, lesser-known realm of board games, the board game geek realm, if you will. So I guess a good first question is, what is it you guys look for in a board game? What what do you actually enjoy in board games? What's something that you're like, okay, I'll sit down and I'll have a good time with this?
For me, the number one feature of a board game is replayability. I think it kind of goes without saying, but if you want to play it again and you're able to replay it multiple times, then that just says that it's a good board game.
I would agree with you, especially like with regards to games that I would buy myself. The replayability aspect is, important, obviously. I mean, especially since you're going to spend easily, anywhere from 25 to, 50, 60, 80, 100 on a game. You want it to be something that you can actually get a good bit of use out of. But I would say that what's more important to me than the replayability is the theming. I love games that have a really cool theme and something that sort of draws you in, adds that additional element. So that's sort of taking it a step beyond your basics like Monopoly and Candyland. We were joking earlier, but like something that's a little bit more interesting, has a presence, if you will. Someone breaks it out and they're setting the game up, and it's one of those things that's noticeable. Like, ooh, what's that? That's something that I think is a draw for me when it comes to games.
So okay, game. I'll keep it kind of bland with game, not necessarily board game. I enjoy like the party type games, if you couldn't tell. My voice also just cracked in case you couldn't tell. So for example, what's the name of the game we played last week?
Codenames.
Codenames. I enjoyed Codenames. That one's pretty fun. I enjoy the What Do You Meme and the like Cards Against Humanity. I will say a negative to those is the cards will start becoming repetitive. Mm-hmm. Which sometimes you're expecting to get these certain cards, so it kind of takes away the value from that. So I guess that would be a negative to your replayability. Like Cards Against Humanity wouldn't, if you're just playing with the OG deck. I mean, once you get the expansion decks, I feel like then you're more interested in going back and playing it. I also like those games. I guess it would be considered those games as well, but where you can kind of make your own card, because it gives you, for your whatever friend group or family or whatever group you're playing it in, you can kind of throw something in comical that everybody playing will kind of understand, which makes it unique to yourself and the party that you're playing with.
So I guess the next question then would be, what would be your favorite type of board game?
Well, I made a little list of my top few: deck building, abstract strategy, Euro, and social deduction. I look less toward the theme of a game, although I think artwork can be a component for me. The theme itself isn't necessarily make it or break it, but the ability to strategize and to sort of control the way the game goes for you, I think that's a really important aspect. I dislike games that have a lot of luck or randomness in them and no ways to mitigate them. So abstract strategy, obviously, that's virtually no randomness, and Euro games very similarly have, if they do have an element of randomness, it's typically something you can mitigate. So just as an example, something that a lot of people obviously know about, Catan, or I've heard it like 5 different ways: Catan. Yeah. Who knows? I call it Catan. But in Catan, you roll a die every turn, and that has an effect on the resources you get. But you know the probabilities of each one of those rolls. You can choose to distribute your pieces in a way such that you have a higher chance of getting the resources you need, and being able to mitigate that is a strong part of the strategy.
So Anthony, I want to hear from you on this one, because I know that if anyone sitting here amongst the Townhouse has a more critical view when it comes to board games, it's going to be you. So I'm wondering, what is it you like in board games? And then maybe you can get us started off on our next question, which is, what is something that you just do not like?
All right. Well, okay, so favorite type of game in general, I kind of like touched on it a little bit. I really enjoyed the party games. I like getting together with like a larger group of people who when I play board games with you guys, I obviously know you prefer the strategy type games, but I think you were the ones that introduced me to the strategy type games, because growing up all my life, I never ever played the strategy type games. I always played sort of party type games or any type of card games, and your Monopoly, the always good Candyland. But for me personally, I would social deduction, I guess, is what Gavin said. I typically like those because going off of what you just said, you get a read for people. You kind of see what people's personality is based off of playing those games. Or it's kind of like a good icebreaker too, I guess, if you're introducing new people into it too. It gives you a good laugh every now and then, which I always find fun. I enjoy. And they don't last too long. That's the thing. So sometimes
short time frame is key.
Short time frame, just because you can do more things throughout the night.
So on the flip side of the coin, then, what is it you really don't want to see? What is it that is something like I come over, I break out a game, and you're just like, oh god.
Why don't you give us an example of a game that you may bring out that I might have sort of not always. Okay, I'll say it's not always negative. I'll give it to you. What's a game?
Like a game I would break out, like Gloomhaven, where it makes that very distinctive thunk noise as it hits the table.
The box itself weighs like 50 pounds.
Something like that.
Close to it.
Might be as heavy as Anthony.
It honestly is probably as heavy as I am.
Yeah, I can jump in here quickly, but the things I dislike in games are... One is event-driven co-op games. I don't like the idea of not being able to form a strategy or constantly having to change it. That's something that I would much rather have incorporated into a sport or something that is a physical activity that I can play in real time. A lot of real-time games and a lot of event-driven games just don't do it for me. I think it's a little too much chaos to control on paper, so to speak. And then heavy negotiation games that are outside the realm of social deduction, because a lot of social deduction games do have a negotiation element, but games where you're sort of required to interact with other players in a way to gain resources or other things, or else you can't succeed in the game, those games are easily broken by the fact that certain players can sort of form alliances or have a grudge against other players for no particular reason other than just competitive spirit.
You saying that's me?
Not to call anyone out.
Yes, that's totally you.
Xavier. Oh man, sorry. But yeah, that's about it for me. Just those sort of things kind of detract from a game because it really takes away from my ability to form a cohesive path to victory or feel like I am in any control, especially for a long game.
Yeah. And I would say I guess I'm the flip side of the coin on that one, because for me, the mechanics specifically, I can enjoy pretty much any mechanics if it's put to the right theme. So the stuff that Gavin was talking about, whether it's something heavy on negotiation, even something heavy on the luck-based, if it's really thematic and I feel like I'm, in the world of Gloomhaven fighting in a dungeon, or if I'm, a pirate on a pirate ship, or, a lord in Cutthroat Kingdoms, if I can get into the theme, the mechanics are just mechanics. If there's no theme, limited theme, especially the heavy abstract games, I feel like I'm just moving pieces. I'm pretty detached from the whole experience, and I could really take it or leave it. So, for me, it's theme makes or breaks the game, regardless of the mechanics involved. And obviously, that's going to be a controversial opinion.
Well, I think that's where we find common ground, though, because there are a lot of good strategy games that have good themes as well. But there are also a lot of abstract strategy games and just strategy games in general that are a lot more bland. Chess is probably considered one of the all-time standards for abstract strategy games, I would say. That's sort of the go-to when you think of an abstract strategy game. Yet there isn't much of a theme, because even though there's the idea of knights and queens and kings and bishops and all this stuff, you're not really playing into the theme by how you play the game. It's just the mechanics of the pieces themselves with specific names. But even if you just add that little thematic element, let's say you have, Harry Potter chess or Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones chess, and you throw some pieces that are a little more interesting, I think that can even, sort of give the inclination to play the game again, or, give it another chance, even though you know exactly how the game plays. Just because it's fun, you can actually get into it a little bit more.
I know it did for me. I know that we had friends in high school who had a copy of Lord of the Rings chess. And I'd played plenty of regular chess, but playing Lord of the Rings chess where, the cave trolls were one of your pieces on the board, it definitely added a new element that made the game, I don't know, it was more involved, more interesting. And I played chess a gazillion times, but every single time I had the opportunity to play Lord of the Rings chess, I was not going to pass up that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So, for me, the mechanics tend to be the primary focus, but that theme can kind of bridge the gap for a lot of people. So we have a lot of common ground on games where I like the mechanics, you like the theme, and we just both like the game because of completely different reasons.
Okay, so for Gloomhaven,
Oh boy.
when we first started playing it, I enjoyed it. I actually did enjoy it when we first started playing it, but it gets to that. It's a long setup process. Depending on the map that you set up, some maps could take as little as an hour, but some could go over the 2-hour mark. And I think that kind of takes me out of the game, as if it's dragging on for too long. Mm-hmm. What I will say, a pro that I do like about it is we all get to play our cards at a time, and we all are helping each other out, which I know you said you would prefer more so not a co-op. Is it? Well, I don't know if you specifically said co-op, but I enjoy that aspect where we're all kind of on a team fighting off all these demons and oozes and dragons and whatever the hell mythological creatures are in the game. But I do enjoy that about it. It's the time commitment to it is kind of what takes me out, because I can only play for so long before I start. It's a little draining for myself. I just think sometimes it can get dragged out for too long, and sometimes we'll try to do 2 matches. So basically, I would say that's my biggest negative. I will say also quickly, I'm not huge into the theme of medieval and mythological, so that also kind of takes me out of the experience. But it is fun. I do enjoy it in the beginning, but as it's gone on, I mean, we've taken a good hiatus from it, so I'll jump back in.
We could always, we'll always be able to give it another try. But I think that pretty much rounds out our discussion of board games, what we like, what we don't like. Some of us more enthusiastic than others. Does that pretty much sum up episode 5? Was it everything you expected, Anthony?
It was everything I expected and more, Xavier.
Excellent. Gavin?
Yeah, I'm, at about half-mast now, so...
Well, to get you a little bit more the way there, we're at episode 5. I didn't think we would make it this far. I thought that we would have lost interest by now. If we make it to episode 10, let's go ahead and promise we'll be doing some Naked Twister. How does that sound?
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
Live on the podcast, episode 10.
We'll be live streaming it, too, so you can actually watch.
Does YouTube allow that, though?
I don't
We'll put it on a different platform.
We'll do the sound effects only. I think that's allowed.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Daddy.
Yeah.
We'll have to find a different...
The audio. We'll let you know if we find a streaming service so you can watch.
All right. Well, I think that ends it for us. Thank you to our one listener for sticking with us all the way up to episode 5, and hopefully there will be many more to come. This is Xavier, Gavin, Anthony, and this has been the Townhouse.